And welcome. We are going to jump right in here to our match between me, M. Bacons, and Mighty Mike 72. I am running an Arcane Bombardment deck in Jund or Riveteers colors. We're going to use Arcane Bombardment in the late game, mixed with some control-ish cards, including instants and sorceries in the early game, to see if we can survive long enough to play our 6-cost red enchantment. I'm going to lay down some lands here, get out of Celestus for a little bit of ramp, and we're going to pass over to Mighty Mike. Just a lone prosperous innkeeper at this point, but if you've seen Riveteers decks out of New Capenna, you know it's got a lot of good, solid mid-range cards to threaten the opponent with. So we could see Atsushi the Blazing Sky here. Good treasure producer, good way to refill the hand in a way off the top. We're just going to go ahead and get rid of that with our Burn Down the House, doing 5 damage to each creature and pass it back to the opponent. Opponent choosing to make treasure and lays down the second Atsushi. We draw a big score, and looks like we're going to activate the Celestus here, drawing a card and discarding. Now, we're going to discard the Meathook Massacre here, not because it's not useful in this matchup, but because we really want to hang on to as many spells as we can. And well, before we cast that Chariot anyway, we were looking at only one threat from the opponent, so not too much to worry about there. We're going to go ahead and big score here because that sets us up really nicely for an Arcane Bombardment the following turn. All right, we're going to go ahead and lay the Bombardment down. We're going to immediately activate that with the Bloodchief's Thirst, targeting one of the Esika's cat tokens. And we pull a Burn Down the House out of our own graveyard. We're going to go ahead and do 5 damage to each creature. Now that'll take care of the wideness of the opponent's board, but now they are sitting on a lot of mana thanks to those 2 treasure token activations, and so hopefully we can dodge a Renin 7 or some other horrible token generator on the other side. Now just a Workshop Warchief, activating the Chariot immediately and getting in for 4 damage. They're only able to copy a treasure token there. Alright, we're going to Invoke Despair, activating our Bombardment and drawing some cards. We are going to go ahead and Burn Down the House for tokens, and then big score again, discarding another Meathook Massacre, since the opponent is not really going to be able to go too wide anymore. We want to make sure we activate that Arcane Bombardment every turn. One more land from me, and then we're going to pass it back to the opponent, who just pulls a land out of the deck with Evolving Wilds. All right, finally going to put that Chariot to good use. We're going to go ahead and respond to the Chariot activation with a big score, hoping to remove that while it is a creature and we can deal with it. All right, we've got a free Burn Down the House. Going to make some more tokens. Going to pull out the old Invoke Despair, and we're also going to big score for good measure, discarding the Trinome. We're going to let some things resolve here. Now, this is not a good position to be in for our good friend Mighty Mike, but some enchantment removal and some timely top decks could be enough to come back. These devils are going to be a little tough to deal with. Of course, they've got a Meathook Massacre. Devils get taken care of, but luckily their ability will negate the life gain from our opponent. So we're just going to speed through all those triggers. Okay. One more time, we've got another Burn Down the House. Going to use this to refill our board with Devil tokens, pull out another Invoke Despair. We're going to go ahead and Riveteers Charm and exile our opponent's graveyard. Not much to do on that empty board, so it couldn't hurt. And we'll big score for good measure, keep that hand filled up. Drawing extraneous copies of Arcane Bombardment here. We're going to get in for 6 with the Devil tokens, and we are really set up nicely for the next turn. We're going to discard a couple of useless cards here that won't get picked up by Bombardment. We can go ahead and big score or Riveteers Charm whenever we want. So here, opponent casting Titan of Industries, most likely going to get rid of our Arcane Bombardment, but we've gotten so much value out of this enchantment that I don't think they're really going to be able to come back at this point. Casting almost everything under this card. We've even got Dig Up going for us here. And we will just go ahead and decline the Riveteers Charm. Going to pull a Swamp out of our own deck, start letting everything else resolve. Now, we could have waited for the Titan of Industry to resolve to make our opponent sacrifice it, but I wanted to make sure we got as much damage in on our opponent's face as possible, and that means invoking Despair before they can deal with it. Opponent Infernal Grasping their own creature. You can see me checking here. Did I miss something? And no. Opponent just showing us what they have. Thanks for the game, Mighty Mike. Let's take a look at this deck. All right, you can see we've got 4 Arcane Bombardment, 3 Burn Down the House, and 3 Invoke Despair, supported by 4 Big Score. We've also got Celestus and 3 Riveteers Charm, which has a couple of useful modes, being able to remove opponent's graveyard and make them sacrifice a creature. Really good modes right now. We're supported by a small Deadly Dispute type of package to get some early ramp with Shambling Ghast and Eyetwitch. And then we've got some cheap instants and sorceries to keep reusing things with the bombardment and to provide some ways to survive the early game. All right, well, I hope you enjoyed that game. Thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.